not just us. Yeah. So one more time, welcome everyone. Good evening. This is Voice of Kings mentoring program. This is Kingsley Bangwell. Tonight we're having a conversation. I wanted to share some thoughts and then also just get a bit of feedback from parents about the session we just completed. Last week, Saturday, we did a module. We did module 3 on the Voice of Kings mentoring program. Looking at the conversation around trust. So let me just share my slide. I always like to speak from points because somehow it just helps me properly coordinate my thoughts much better. Just give me a minute. All right. Okay, so I have the slide on now, right? So yeah, last week Saturday, our module 3 was on trust, and we called the topic can you be trusted? So and we try to define what trust is, which is a strong belief or confidence in the ability and integrity of someone or something to deliver on an expectation, right? So that's basically the conversation we tried to hold last week. But it just occurred to me, sorry, before we proceed, I think it's we have a measurable crowd here, so I think we can just briefly introduce ourselves. I'm sorry, I just started having conversation. Could we just unmute your mic and just introduce yourself? I think we should just do that before I proceed, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Well, good evening. My name is Mr. Banjoko Ayoluamide's dad.
Yeah.
Ayoluamide Banjoko.
Yeah, you're welcome, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, all. My name is Mrs. Bernard, Oluwadinladi Bernard's mom.
All right, glad you could join. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Oshama Opara, the mom of Jidina and Chinemeran.
Yep. Thank you for joining. Any other person who wants to introduce himself? All right. Maybe you could just drop a chat, but otherwise we'll just proceed, right? So, like I was saying, last Saturday's session was on trust, and we just a bit of background of what we talked about. We look at the concept of trust, beyond that, we looked at the 3 elements of trust, which is reliability, truthfulness, and consistency. We went into why, you need to develop a culture of trust and all of that. And then we ended up with the how, which is, how to build trust. We talked about every time you're giving an instruction, or a task, follow through. And every time you're given an instruction, follow through. Then every time you're given a task, deliver it excellently, right? And then when you speak, let your account be the truth. And then place trust over asking for forgiveness. Basically, place truth and trust over asking for forgiveness. Quite an interesting and engaging conversation. And then, of course, we usually have this what we call the King's Pledge. So we talked about the King's Pledge for the week, which was your yes be yes, your no be no. Yeah, this is it. And then we all just talked about this. And then we had an assignment. We give assignments every week, and thanks to parents for always, following through with the kids to do the assignment. So usually reading the assignment, reviewing the assignment, I do that personally. I also have an assistant who works with me, but I take the personal time to read through everybody's assignment. It's helping me understand what's going on, getting some assessment, getting some feedbacks and all of that. So one of the questions we asked in the last assignment was list some areas. Okay, let me see, there's a chart here. All right, someone says, my name is Ifeoluwa Kayode Damilade's mommy. I'm at work. All right, I understand. Thank you for joining despite being at work. Right, so one of the questions we asked was list some areas. Of course, we had a couple of questions, right? But one of the questions we asked was list some areas that you plan to make adjustments, right? As a result of Module 3, to improve trust culture. And a good number of the boys across the 3 age brackets, 8 to 10, 11 to 13, 14 to 17, majority of them listed lying and dishonesty. Now, this got my attention. First of all, I was happy that they were honest enough to put this out there. For me, what it communicates is that we're building a level of trust where the boys could actually just, honestly speak up and put this on the table. And for me, that's great feedback, and I'm happy about it, right? But I see an opportunity here. There's both a concern, but also an opportunity to see how we can work with the boys' experience. So we have 3 talking points tonight that I want to look at, and which is why are kids struggling with lying? Why should we be concerned? And what can we do as parents? So I'm just going to talk through this very quickly and then just have some interaction. Happy to hear people's thoughts and all of that. And please feel free to interject at any point or make contribution or ask for clarification at any point. And by the way, I don't have all the facts, right? I don't know everything. So I'm just speaking from a perspective. So we all have different perspectives. So feel free to contribute at any point in time. So the first thing we want to deal with is why do we think kids are struggling with lying? I have a couple of talking points around this, but I just felt maybe let me just hear from parents. You can unmute or you can drop a comment. Why do we think kids are lying? As a child also I lied for different reasons, right? Even as an adult, sometimes one falls to the lying thing. So, but let me just hear, why do we think our boys, our kids are lying, right? All right, welcome. Sigwe's mom is here. Sigwe made a lot of contribution in the last session. Glad to have you here, right? Temitayo's mom is here. All right, glad to have you. Right, Nathan's father. All right, Nathan, we're glad to have you. Nathan David. Right, good, thank you. Happy to have everyone that is here this evening. So the question we're trying to ask, and I just want people's contribution. You can type in, you can also just unmute. Why do we think our kids are lying? Are struggling lying? Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
My name is Temitayo Kayode.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it has to do with relationship with your child, especially African parents. We put so much fear in our children, and the next thing they do is they have to lie on themselves. Even when they did not do that thing. Do you understand?
Yes.
If there is a cordial relationship, a friendship, sometimes as a parent, I think with this generation we have, you just have to come down to their level. You have to behave like them to get what you actually want.
Okay.
Gone are those days that you use cane, you have to spank a child, you use your eye contact to talk to a child. But these days, you just have to come down. You have to behave like them. That's for me. You just have to behave like them. Come down to their level. Let them see you as their kind of person. Like for me, once I know my child has done something, I tell him, Daniel, you did this. You don't need to lie to me. Just tell me the truth. I'm not going to beat you, but we're going to talk about it. And from there, you see the child like, okay, mommy, I'm sorry, I actually did it. It doesn't confirm that he did it, but it tells you he actually did it. Now, why not let's discuss it? Did it make sense? Did you have to disobey my rules? Do you understand? I think that's the way it works for me.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, ma. Someone is trying to ask a question, but it's okay. Thank you, ma, for that. Any other contribution? Let me see. I'm looking at my time. Yes. Any other person? Why are the kids lying? Let us hear. Why do we think the kids are struggling with lying? Let me see if there's anything on the chat. Right, the hand is up.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
I'm Adiola, Bezalel's mom. I don't know if this has been said before because I just joined now. I believe one of the reasons why children also lie is that we don't make it worthwhile when they tell the truth. For me, I do know that my son is aware that when he tells the truth, when he's honest, the consequences are lesser than when he tells a lie. So he knows that I rather face up, be honest about this, and get a lesser consequence than telling a lie. Well, to some people, I suppose they'll feel they may not find it efficient, but I do think that with the continuity of that process, I'm also helping his brain developing to intentionally telling the truth. So it's not about the punishment consequence, but it's the discipline I'm giving to him, the consistency of so before you know it, it comes automatically to tell the truth, irrespective of consequence or not. And another thing is that with that method, which I find effective, is that it also helps with his sibling also. So with that consistency helps his sibling, and his sister also knows that, okay, if I'm honest, I don't get to face as much consequences as I should anyway. But the one thing a core one, you talk about trust. Like if you keep telling lies, I won't be able to trust you.
Yeah.
No, so having that conversation is essential. I think for me, that is really essential. The essence of trust. If you do something, if something happens somewhere, I shouldn't be able to I should be able to trust that of your capabilities or what you can do and things like that, and real life situations. So one thing is this: we often try to discipline when there is a wrongdoing. At that point, it starts before then. So if someone else tells a lie and you can see how trust has been broken and things like that, I explain the situation beforehand, so that when and then another thing, I'm a Christian, I say, give yourself a minute. The Holy Spirit is watching us.
Yeah.
So you think about it before you say anything. So I give him that time to think, because most times it's like the earlier speaker said, fear may set in. So when you tell the child, you assure the child, just think about it. And I reinforce, God is here watching us all. The Holy Spirit is here. So be careful about what you say. So those are the things I sort of do to ensure that a honest person is being trained. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ma. Very powerful feedbacks we're getting. Feel free to also drop on the chat box if you want. We're just asking a question. Madam Ini just joined us. Thanks for joining us right now. So we're just trying to find out why are kids struggling with lying. Like I said, we have 3 talking points tonight. Why are the kids struggling? Why we should be concerned, and what can parents do? So now I've gotten a bit of sampling. I'm also learning from this whole process. Let me quickly run through some of the things that I had in my talking points, right? And I'm going to spend more time on the second talking point, which is why we should be concerned. But these are some of the things that come to mind. I also asked a couple of teenagers even today. Top on the list is fear of consequences, fear of punishment is why most of them are lying. I also heard from some of these teenagers, they're afraid of losing something or an opportunity. If you told the truth, you may miss an opportunity or you may lose something. In fact, one teenager said, if I told the truth, my friend may be punished. Some of us to avoid work. If you You know, if you tell the truth, if you lie, you may lie that you're not feeling well. You avoid work and inconvenience. You know, we also did these things as kids. Go and fetch water. You now say your leg is paining you, right? Somebody else goes to fetch water, right? I did that a bit, right? Okay, so sometimes also lying to earn goodwill or acceptance, and then to favor your friends. Sometimes it's impulsive. Someone is not even thinking, you just lie, right? And later realize that, oh, that was a lie, right? And then also when the environment models lying, right? These are some of the reason why our kids are lying, right? And it's important to note some of these. And there could be more. We have more. We have Mrs. Okora for said, I think sometimes we parents have very high expectation and the children don't want to fall short. Okay, that's another important point. Parental expectation. I could add this to my list, a very vital point. Parental expectation. Right, kids. 1, 2, meet up. In fact, that may connect. I remember a teenager today telling me that one of the reasons the lie could be that is that you don't want to disappoint your parents. So I think it will connect with what Mrs. Okafor just put in the chat box, right? And these reasons, can be justifiable either way, right? If you're scared of punishment, and like someone said, flog you, right? So you're scared of that. You don't want to be flogged. I don't think anybody wants to be flogged, right? You're scared of the consequence. You're afraid of losing something. Maybe if you told the truth, an opportunity that came your way or a gift or something could be retrieved or all of that. You could avoid work. I mean, just look at that. Then you could also act as earn goodwill, right? If you lied to get goodwill or get accepted into something or a cycle of friends and all of that. So you could just see all the amazing reasons that, justify why kids are lying, say why kids are lying. But I want to spend, like I said, a bit more time on the second part of this, the second talking point, which is why we should be concerned. Why we should be concerned. The first reason I think we should be concerned is fear. Among all the kids, some of the kids I talked with, right, fear seems to be one of the most prominent factor. And this is why I think we need to be concerned about this. They are scared about the consequence, I'll be flogged and all of that. And truly some misbehavior or misconduct require some level of punishment, no doubt about that. And we're not debating that. And depending on where people are, depending on the orientation, we have two different kinds of orientation. Some people believe that, have conversations to deal with stuff. Some people have orientation that some consequences will require the cane to be flogged and all of that. For me here, it is not about debating which of these works the best, right? Different family, different things worked. So, but here's what I wanted to talk about, that fear factor. Fear factor that is not dealt with can become a strong force that can be used to manipulate our children, right? This fear factor that is making the kids lie is beyond just the consequence of being flogged. And that's why we need to be concerned. And I'm going to give one or two practical examples. So some of the kids that have been forced into bad behavior, or some of the kids that have been forced into, let me give another example, substance abuse. Some of the kids that were forced into substance abuse, it was the instrument of fear that was used, right? If you don't take this, we're going to deal with you. So fear factor was used, and then they started thinking that thing and became a problem. Some of the kids also that have been introduced into, for instance, negative, immoral behavior, like some that have been molested by an adult person. You know what the person used? Most time it was fear, right? Some have even been threatened. If you tell anybody, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill your daddy, I'm going to kill your mommy, and all of that. They capitalize on the fear factor, right? Even some that may have been forced to join gangs, or some that may have been forced to possibly steal stuff at home, bring the money and all of that. You know, kids are dealing with different things that we mean that if you really have conversation, you'll be shocked, right? I have a parent whose child started stealing money at home, not because it was stealing the money to right for themselves. They were stealing the money because there was a demand in school. They were being blackmailed in school, and they used the power of fear, right, to compel and to influence and push those kids to do all kinds of stuff. That's why. So for you as a parent, you should be more concerned about their fear for Cain, but how that fear factor can now be used by either other people or other situations to influence our kids, you know, beyond our wildest imagination. You know, so I'm concerned about that fear factor, right? So let me just patiently go through this, right? Because I already want to say one or two things, but I think it's about what parents should do. So I'm going to speak into that in the next slide. The second thing is acceptance. A lot of our kids are dealing with, you know, acceptance. They want to be accepted they want to be accepted by their friends. They want to be accepted, you know, by their peers. They want to be accepted at different levels. Again, we need to be concerned about raising children that want to be accepted. So the first thing we need to be concerned are children that are operating in high level of fear, because that fear factor is going to be used against them, and people are going to take advantage of the fear factor. You know, second thing is children that want to be accepted. Everybody wants to be accepted, but the point I'm making is that when it now becomes a major force for making decision, a major factor for making decision, then it can be capitalized on. Someone can say, for you to be accepted into our group, do this. For you to be accepted into our clique, do this. For us to accept you as someone that is as good as we are, do this. And because of that, boys and even girls have done stuff that they will later not be proud of, but they had to do it, you know, to be accepted into something. I remember my primary school days. This is primary school day. I still remember this incident very well. There was this group of boys that, you know, were seen as the, you know, the happening, use the word happening boys and all of that. There were a group, about 4 or 5 of them. So I wanted to be a part of the group. So I started getting close to them, but I just sensed that I was not being accepted. So one day, I still remember the group leader. He called me and asked me to do something, that if I did that, I'll be accepted into the group. And what he was asking me to do was wrong, but I wanted to be accepted, right? So it wasn't fear now. This was not fear factor, but acceptance. I wanted to be a part of, right? So, and if we're raising kids that, you know, I don't want to use the word, can't handle rejection or can't handle not to be accepted or are okay with that being accepted, you know, the woke culture and all of that, it is a big deal, right? But if we're raising kids that once we are willing to pay any price to be accepted, either by their peers, their friends and all of that, then it becomes a problem. Even the maids, some adult in the house can also use that, you know, as a factor, you know, to get our kids to lie and to do other things. Then we should also be concerned about resilience. We should also be concerned about resilience and real life. You know, I don't know if anybody's read this book, David and Goliath. David and Goliath is a book by a guy called, what's his name now? I'll remember his name. His first book that I read in 2003 is a book called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. Yes, I remember now. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book. It's his first book I wrote in 2003. And since then, I fell in love with his style of writing and the kind of concept he pushes. So he pushed the concept in also the David and Goliath. He told the story of a wealthy man who, well, he grew up in the streets, was an immigrant, came into America, grew up on the streets, and then eventually became very wealthy. And then when he became wealthy, he ensured that his kids would not go through some kind of, difficulty and all of that. So by 18, he now started wanting to introduce his son to the culture of work, the culture of resilience, the culture of, decision-making, money, and all of that. And then during the holiday, he wanted his son to come work in his company. And his son said, I don't need to work. I don't need to do that. You're already a rich man. I want to travel. His son flies business class, had thousands of dollars every month for allowances and all of that. And it broke his heart because he was like, at 18, I had some skill at my disposal. And at 18, none of those skills were evident in the life of his son. So he was heartbroken. So what was a good thing now became a bad thing, right? So the point I'm trying to make from this is if our kids are telling a lot of lie to avoid convenience, to avoid work, and to avoid discipline and several things, then they are losing resilience that will be needed in real life situation. They may be 16, 17 today, maybe 12, 13, 14 today. In a few years from now, they are going to be out of your space and they are going to encounter the real life. And then they will realize that the real life is different from the protection of the home. And they will realize that there is certain resilience they didn't have. And this is what we should be concerned about as parents. As I raise my kids, I'm asking myself, when I'm not there with them, and they meet these other kids who have grown up on the streets, how will they measure up? Sometimes when I drive and I have my kids in the car, I live in the city of Abuja, so sometimes we go out and all of that, and you see those kids who come to sell granuts. Some of them, their ages are 10, 12, 13. I always use this scenario. While you're waiting for traffic, these kids, some of these boys or girls will have 3 or 4 bottles of granuts, and then they are trying to convince you to buy. And then as they're trying to convince you to buy, the traffic start moving, they run with you. If they have given you the bottle of granite, they run with you to collect the change, to collect the money and give you change, and they try to do all of that. Now, someone may just say, and what's that process? Look, in that process, there is a lot of skills those kids are building: negotiation, accountability, determination, and all of that. And I always joke with my kids to say, by 13-year-old, I'm not sure can measure up with the resilience and life experience that 10-year-old or 8-year-old has, right? Of course, I'm not going to put my child on the street to say sell granuts and all of that. But again, there needs to be a balance. What else am I exposing my kids to build resilience and all of that, right? When the kids lie a lot, they're going to miss out on a lot of resilience building, life building experiences. And the last thing, all right, I'm looking at my time. The last part I want to talk about, we should be concerned about, is reputation. One of our mothers just spoke about, if you continually lie, then I can trust you. But it's not just you that is not trusting. People around are also going to begin to look at the reputation of that child. And as they grow with that culture, that reputation begins to grow beyond the house, in school. And if by the time they get into college, that reputation begins to grow. And if they take it to the workplace, it also begins to grow. So these are the 4 things that we need to be concerned about. So for me, it's beyond. So when I was reading that report, when I was reading the assignment and saw this as a cross-cutting thing, lying and dishonesty as a major stuff, I was looking at like, wow, should we be concerned? What should we be concerned? It's not just about the lying. We should be concerned about, why are they lying? right? They are lying because of fear. They are lying because they want acceptance. And as they are lying, they are losing opportunity to build resilience, to deal with real life. And then they're also building reputation. I don't know, just to check in, I hope people are hearing me, people are following through so far. So the last part of my conversation is what can parents do? And then afterwards, I could just open up the floor for a conversation. I wanted this to be max 45 minutes conversation tonight. What should parents do? We've started getting a bit of it. What can parents do? I want parents to use the current model that we're running. If you haven't listened to the replay, you can go and listen to the replay again and just get a whole sense of it, and then use it to start a conversation about why kids are opting to lie. And one of the things I want to tell parents, when I was even asking my kids, I told them, when I used to lie as a kid, this is why I lie. I just simplified the conversation. It wasn't one serious stuff, but I wanted to have conversation, right? And so it may be good to share your own personal experiences, instances where you told a lie as a kid, consequences and all of that. But the whole idea is this is a good time to open this conversation about lying. Why do you lie? What's making you lie, right? And I want to ask parents to patiently dig deep, to not just now why they're lying, but now narrow down to the 4 things I've talked about, especially fear. Why are you afraid? What are you afraid about? And then just trying to get a sense of why you're just generally afraid. And then use that, because see, if we can understand beyond some of the things I've even said, you could hear other reasons why they're afraid, right? And like I said, this conversation with the kids about why they're lying and trying to get why fear is a big factor could be a conversation that happens beyond more than one time, right? So you just want to note also some of the factor that is you that is contributing to, right? If there are places you need to make adjustment, fine. If there are places that is just limited knowledge, but we need to get to the root of why our children are so scared, whether about us or whether about consequence or about life generally, because fear will remain a powerful tool that can be used negatively against our children. So they are lying because they're afraid of something. They are lying because someone has told them, if you tell the truth, this is going to happen. And so we want to help our children overcome that fear generally, that spirit of fear generally. Because if you help them overcome the spirit of fear, beyond lying, they will even be able to stand up for themselves, and be able to deal with whatever else somebody wants to use the fear factor to do against children, right? And there's a lot of lies out there, and there are a lot of people out there using lies, and they're using the fear factor to intimidate children, to intimidate boys, to intimidate girls, to get them to do stuff. So if this may look a bit extreme, but a lot of time boys that have been abused, molested, that kept quiet, fear was a major factor. The perpetrator used fear, especially if it was something that was happening in the house or something that was happening in the boarding school. Fear was the major factor that was used, right? And so if we can get, and in this instance, they are not lying. It's just that they didn't say anything. They didn't tell you anything. They didn't say something bad was going on, because fear has been used. So for me, it's about parents having this conversation, and we want to work to deal with the fear factor, because it's beyond lying, it can be used, against our children in ways that will be very consequential, right? So we want to spend time to really just know, so what is it? What makes you scared? What are you scared at when you're with your friends? What are you scared of? What makes you scared? Why are you afraid of this? Let's just have this conversation. And if you also had fear issue as a child, you want to also share your experience, because the whole idea, you want to get them, to open up. And then here is what I'm going to recommend. When this conversation is going on, I want to see if depending on kind of person you are, get the talking points. If you want to note, write stuff down, fine. And it's okay to say, I just want to get your points. I want to think about it, right? You can mention it to your kids and they're fine. They'll be comfortable and all of that. And spend some time to really think about how you want to provide superior knowledge to counter those fear. Fear is terrible. Let me share an experience. When my kids were maybe a bit younger, whenever they took light, they would just start screaming. So one day I sat the two of them and I said, because I can't just keep, why are you screaming? Stop shouting, nothing will happen. No, they're kids. They have limited knowledge. So one day I sat and I said, okay, when they take the light, so I put off the lights. I said, we are all here now. You guys are not shouting. Why are you not shouting? They say, well, Daddy, you're here. I said, okay, if I'm not here, what else is here? They were quiet. I said, okay, in your mind, you think there is a monster, right? Monster is here. And I said, but there's no monster, right? I said, let's practically look at this. Is there really a monster? Because if there's a monster, whether the light is off or not, the monster will be here. So for instance, if we have a dog here, whether the light is on or off, the dog is here. Your bed is here. This is here. This is here. When Daddy is here when the light is off, Daddy is here when the light is on. So I try to have that conversation. I say, so something is telling you that there's a monster coming from. I say, it's just your mind and all of that. We had conversation over time and they overcame it. So when the light goes off, they don't scream. So sometimes we even joke about it now, like, you guys don't scream, there's no light. They say, no, we know there's no monster anywhere, right? And so knowledge to help deal with whatever is fostering that fear is important. And so that is where, that's why I'm saying, when they give you answer, people work differently. If they give you answer, you can provide counter knowledge immediately. But if you want to spend some time to think, just really think about it, list those stuff, and then, come back and have conversation on that day or another time, and pick each fear point and provide superior knowledge that counters it. And it may be a repeated conversation over time, because you want to deal with something that is rooted, that is going to affect, other things. One of the things you also need to explain to our kids is the fear of discipline, right? The fear of discipline. I agree with what one of the mothers said, what's her name now? Mrs. Adiola or so. And I think that's a powerful concept. We also do it in my home, that when you speak the truth, you reduce some of the consequence and all of that, but it's also to really begin to explain the importance of discipline, right? It's important to explain the importance of discipline, why it's necessary, why it's important, and that it's not coming from a place of hate and all of that. And of course, the pain will be there if there's discipline, depending on kind of discipline, yes. But again, to help them know that discipline is building some kind of both inner and outer resistance, right? The other thing I want us to talk about, in the 4 points I talked about, is the reason the kids are lying, that I narrowed down to, right, that we should be concerned about. Is number 1 is fear. Number 2 is what? Acceptance. Number 3, what's number 3 now? Let me just go back. Resilience, right? And then number 4 is, of course, reputation. So you also want to talk about to our kids. This is how you can help. Why they want to be accepted by their friends and all of that, right? Of course, I don't want to use the word peer pressure, right? But I just shared with you my own experience. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be part of those boys and all of that. I can't understand all the reason now, but there could have been different reason then why I wanted to be a part of them. But again, there was that power it gave you to be part of those big, strong boys and all of that. Or you wanted to be part of the richer boys in school. You wanted to be part of the rich. There are different reasons we want to feel accepted. It's also important to really probe and just have honest conversation to try and find out, why do you want to be accepted? Because in that conversation, you may find some things that is interesting, right? And if there are some positive things, they want to be part of a group, that's fine, But if there are some things that, you need to deal with, then you can, again, provide superior knowledge. One of the things I'm learning from parenting, and I also learned growing up, is when you really provide honest knowledge and feedback, right? They may not get it the first time, but over time they will get it. And if you continually push it, and that's our work, parenting is your shaping, and a major way of shaping is knowledge, right? Although in Africa, the way we, in Africa, our style is quite different, right? If you do it, you are, but you're not providing information, you're not providing knowledge, right? If you disgrace this family, but you've not explained. You understand? So let us have conversation about why that need for acceptance can be a problem. That need for acceptance can be a problem. It's okay to want to be accepted, right? But we should have some level of restraint, and it's okay to start teaching at a younger age. One of my kids really likes to have friends, right? And when the friends, at their age, 8, 10, 11, kids move friendships anyhow. Today they're your friend, tomorrow they're not your friend, and all of that. And we saw that it started becoming a problem. So we had to have conversation to say, look, this is becoming a problem for you, right? These people are fine getting on with their life, but it's becoming a problem for you. So we started trying to understand, why do you want to be their friend? Why are you okay when this person accepts you as a friend? Can you not be okay yourself without that friendship and affirmation and all of that? And we started having loads of conversation. But we're happy right now, 13, and there's that sense of independence. There isn't that strong pull about I must be accepted and all of that, but it took having conversation. And please, when this is being manifested, parents should not, look, it's a stage, it's a phase, at different age, different things are manifesting, right? So we want to just be patient with the kids, right? And then ensure you discuss and deal with conversations around acceptance. And then the last part of this is resilience. I've talked through this already. The resilience part of it, helping our kids understand that when they go through some discomfort for telling the truth, they are building inner and outer strength that they will need in real life. But the last part of it is reputation. It's also important to let our kids know that every time they speak the truth, they're building a reputation of honesty and integrity. And it will become very useful, both in the present and in the future, right? So these are how parents can help. But the last, not the least, is modeling truthfulness, right? As parents, we must begin and consistently model speaking the truth always. In my home, it's written wholesome words always and truth always. From childhood, we've modeled to our kids, you must speak the truth always. And I say this with every sense of responsibility. And this is taking years to work on, right? We have different levels of punishment for the kids, right? Sometimes we flog. So just last week we were talking about it. I was just saying that I haven't flogged any of you for like 1 year now. I'm like, is something not wrong? So they're all like, come on, daddy. We're getting better. I'm like, no, something is wrong. I haven't flogged you I was telling the senior one, I haven't flogged you now for nearly 2 years or so. The last time I flogged you was, so I was like, wow, but you've been missing some stuff and all of that. I said, but we're joking about it, but it was great having that conversation. But what has happened over years is because we've seen the kids have become so comfortable with speaking the truth, irrespective of what the consequence will be. And because like I think it should be Mrs. Adiola that said this, or Mrs. Temitayo that talked about, having relationship, having trust, and continually having these conversations to understand that even when you are flogged, it is not out of hate. It is part of parenting, it's part of grooming, right? And the kids can really see that it's not hatred, right? Like in my home, we don't use our hands on our kids, right? It's a standard. If you do something, you have 3 lashes or 6 lashes. So they know there is, and we do that. And there's a lot of explanation to say, why this is being done is for this reason and all of that, right? So, but where I'm going with this is that the kids have also seen that we as parents speak the truth. Like I said, in the house is written the wholesome words always, and then truth always. Truth always. Truth always. Truth always. Truth always. So, and the kids have seen me and their mother consistently speak the truth. Consistently speak the truth, right? Consciously, unconsciously. And so we've modeled it to the kids because we are the most powerful example for whatever value we want to present to our kids. It doesn't matter what anybody's saying in school. It doesn't matter what anybody's saying in church. It doesn't matter what anybody's saying in mosque. The most powerful exemplifier and amplifier of any model for the children is the parents. So my daughters and can say any day, anytime, truth. I have a boy in the house, you can say anytime, truth. If I say this, they know it's the truth. You know, well, we're raising our kids, my wife and I agreed on something that even when we want to pacify our kids, something like parents do, like say, you know what, you promise something that is not true. We told our kids, we agreed, my wife and I agreed, we will never make any promise that is not true. Even if it's just to pacify a child. If a child is crying and none of that, we will never, and if a child asks for something, we will never say yes if we didn't intend to do it. Yes. If we, and it has gotten to a point where they now also say truth always. This family, we say the truth always. Oh, I know when they're saying it, they're indirectly telling me or their mom, you said so, you got to do it. Right? Of course, sometimes some of the things we say, we may not get it done, maybe at the time we said. They now know that if we don't get something done at the time we said we would do it, it's usually a time factor or business factor, but not lying. They know daddy and mommy will say the truth always. They know. So there is a trust level. We are modeling it to them, and it's becoming even strange for them so we have, again, in our house, we always have maybe an average of 3-4 people that we are catering for, supporting or staying with us and all of that. And there's always that thing. And what we've also seen, so because that is the culture, when people come in the first time, they think the lying and all of that. And you see the kids coming to say, Daddy, this person told a lie. It was a lie. How can they lie? And I will tell them, oh, you are feeling like that now, but it's work we've done with you over 10 years or so. You don't know where they're coming, so you got to be patient with them. But we are steadily also telling whoever is in our house, truth always. And we see that alignment. It's such a powerful thing. The scripture we shared with the kids last week, right? Let me just put it on as we wrap up. Scripture that some of us, we already know, James chapter 5, verse 12. But the part that we're talking about is where let your yes be yes, let your no be no. And we do something every model we do with the kids, we call it the King's Pledge, right? And last week's pledge is yes, no is no. And let me even just put it as a general society, most of us know that we don't have a trustworthy society. I was joking with the kids last Saturday. Who do you trust? It's difficult. You can trust government, you can trust the police, you can trust even the teachers sometimes, you can trust tax collectors, it's difficult, right? But don't forget that all these people who say you can't trust government, tax collectors and all of that, they are parents, uncles, So as a nation, we're also failing our children. We're not building a truth-based society. And how do we do that? We need to start at the home front. We want to speak the truth always, right? We need to speak the truth always and model it to the kids. All right. I will short my time by about 10 minutes. Sometimes these conversations being short. All right. So that's it. Basically, that's what I just wanted to cut across. I saw this so what led to this, as I was reviewing the assignments of last week, and I asked the question, what is the area you're struggling with that you want to make an adjustment? And most of the boys said lying and dishonesty. Like I said, I'm happy they could say that, right? Is a concern, but it's also an opportunity. It's a great window. And like I said, I'm just summarizing. Parents, we need to be concerned beyond just that they are lying, but asking, why are they lying? And the number one thing is the fear factor. We need to work with our kids to deal with fear, right? Because fear can be used against them. in school, even at the larger society and all of that. And some of the people that are doing terrible things at home with our kids, they are using the fear factor to hold our kids down and keep them from not speaking up, right? Fear factor. Then the second thing I talked about, acceptance. We need to work with our kids to deal with overcoming not being accepted, right? And then 3, I talked about resilience. And then last but not least, reputation. So that's a summary of our conversation tonight. I hope it's been useful. And I hope that as parents, we can go back and see what we can do with this. But let's have that conversation with the kids about this. And let's be patient to work with them. If they've practiced something over the years, in one conversation, you can't have a turnaround. So again, you're going to spend weeks, months, time to build on this and really work with the kids to overcome this. And then we should be able to say, my son is honest, and we mean it, and we know. Yes, and I think that should be a big deal for a parent to say my son is honest, and that means 90% of the time, 95, 99% of the time, when my son says stuff, it is what it is. That is a big deal. That's a big parenting milestone beyond the grades in school and all of that, because that's the foundation for trust, that what they're saying is honest or what they've done is honest. Right. Question and answer and any other contribution, and then we're done for tonight so that parents can go and prepare for an exciting work week ahead. By the way, I'm meeting with the boys this Saturday, so I'm looking forward to that meeting. All right, the floor is open. If you want to unmute, feel free to unmute. If you want to drop your comment on the chat box, feel free to do that. We welcome. All right, so you were just about to ask for the slides. Yeah, so I'm happy to share that. I can drop the slide in the WhatsApp group. This is also recorded, so people can just listen to it over and over. While I'm waiting for comments, I want our kids to start seeing how much emphasis we place on speaking the truth always. I travel around the world a bit, and I really feel concerned about the values and the culture we're promoting in Africa. And I'm not saying other places don't have their problems. These problems are all over the place and all of that. But some countries have done so well in pushing values, integrity, truth, and all of that. I held an event in Dubai once, and one of my speakers in the hotel where we're using left her jewelry in the bathroom where she went to wash her face, and then came back, during lunch. That's when she remembered that, oh, I dropped my jewelries and all of that, gold and all of that. And then by the time she got to the hotel, to the bathroom, it wasn't there. And then she just went to the front to report, and the jewelries had already been brought and kept for her. What an experience. What an experience. I had another event also in Dubai where I think one of my participants forgot their wallets in the cab. And we just called the hailing company, and the wallet was waiting for him in their office, and they brought it to the hotel. I mean, that is a big deal. It's because it's a cultural norm, right? It's a cultural norm. But you and I will agree that we can't boast of the same thing here in our country. So I run a charity school, and I took some of the kids to Finland Embassy. Finland Embassy is one of our partners in this January. And the Finland Embassy said Finland is known as one of the most honest countries in the world, that they do this experiment where people drop their wallets, that 11 out of 12 people who drop their wallet get it returned untouched. And I'm like, whoa. Because lying is, I mean, they don't understand how someone should lie. I'm like, really? This is not heaven, this is earth, right? This is the kind of cultures and societies people have built, right? And our society was like that, because I remember growing up in primary school, one of our English textbooks, there was this story about a man that went to a village. I don't know if that is true, but it was a story in the English textbook. You went to a village where they put products and then they put the number of stones, and the number of stones represented the price, and then you would just drop it. So people didn't even need to stay in the market, right? It was a story. I don't know if it's true, but that was the value they were pushing, integrity. And this stranger visited and saw that and was picking things. And immediately he went to the market and picked things without paying for them. Immediately the village knew that we have a stranger in our midst, and they had to find that stranger and all of that. So integrity was a big deal then, right? I remember then, if you wrote your exams, if you were caught cheating, if they reported it to your parents, I mean, was a big deal. But today in our society, parents are the ones paying money to schools for cheating, for their children to participate in examination malpractice. Our values have so flipped. But what's the time now? It's 10 o'clock. It's 2 minutes after 10. I don't know if anyone has anything to say, and also, right, so a couple of comments. Yes, can we get the flights? Mrs. Okorafor, yes, we're going to get the slides. Ini just asked the same thing. Ini said, this session was really impactful. I learned so much. Thanks, Ini. Mrs. Okorafor, thank you so much for what you're doing with the boys. God bless you. Amen. Thank you so much. I appreciate, man. Mr. Banjoko, thank you so much for the window of conversation that has opened, with which we need to explore with our children. Yes, please do. Mr. David said, I've not been able to get the link for my kids' assignment. I don't know if I'm the only one in that situation. That's strange. That's strange, sir. Please, just send me a WhatsApp or drop it in the WhatsApp group now and drop your email address. I'll tell Ayo to deal with that first thing in the morning or later tonight. Great time we've had tonight. And please, in the course of this conversation, if there's any way you think I can be a part of private conversations with the boys, please do not hesitate to reach me to continue the conversation. This week again, so the whole of this month, we're looking at the trust conversation. And then this week, we will push the truth aspect a lot more with the kids. Raising honest boys for the next generation, I think is going to be one of the greatest things we can use to bring Africa back to where it should be. So I want to thank everyone that has joined in tonight. I want to wrap up now in the absence of any question or any conversation or any comment. But we're happy to continue the conversations offline. But I've also learned a couple of things from some of the contributions that were made tonight. Thank you for all the daddies that were present. I think we had just one daddy present. Okay, two daddies, Mr. David and Mr. Banjoko. We'll reward those two daddies that were present tonight. I don't know if is there any other daddy present? Let me just be sure in case I'm missing. Is there any other daddy present? But the two daddies that were present, thank you so much for being present tonight. And we pray that you will lead the demand for truth in the house. All right. Thanks, everyone. Been a great time this evening. Good night. Have a great week ahead. And I look forward to a great session with the boys again this Saturday. By end of the month, we're going to be having another parents forum to just talk about a few things that's going to be happening going forward. We're going to be doing activity for fathers in April, fathers activity. So we're going to be talking about it. We're developing that. All right. So yes, I'll share the link for tonight's session. I'm going to download it right now and then put it on YouTube and share the link tonight so that those who want to listen can listen. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being a part of this. Thanks for trusting us with your boys. It means a lot to me. And let the boys know that I'm in love with them and I'm having a great time being a part of their life at this stage of their life. Thank you. God bless you all. Have a great weekend ahead.